Hey Freebs Nation, Jordan Page from FunCheapForFree.com here, and today I'm going to show you how you can stock up on meat on a very tight budget. What? Don't mind all the noise, don't mind all the chaos. I am in my kitchen and my kids are like right over there playing, but I bought some meat on clearance at the store and I was going to process it and put it away, and I thought, you know what? I should probably turn on my camera and show you guys how I do this since I get a ton of questions. Let's bring it in for a second while I chit chat. If you've been following me for long, especially on Instagram, you know all about shelf cooking. Shelf cooking is a form of cooking that I coined that is taking the world by storm. Shelf cooking is cooking first from what you already have on hand, starting in your fridge and then your freezer and your pantry, and then going to the store only for supplemental ingredients for you to cook that week. And then the rest of your budget is used buying things that are on sale and keeping them on hand so that the next time you need to cook, you have everything you need and you bought it at a discount. Check the link in my description below. I have an entire shelf cooking blog with a ton of free resources and recipes, and my shelf cooking cookbook is coming out soon, so get excited for that. Anyway, so this is exactly what I did. My family is a family of 10, and if you followed me for long, you know that the grocery budget I recommend is $100 per person per month. So when I had 2 kids, our budget was $400 a month for me, my husband, and 2 kids. When we had 6 kids, it was $600 a month. Right now, we've got 8 kids, and that's 10 of us, so we have $1,000 a month. But actually, my budget is typically only about $200 a week because I find that I really don't need a whole lot more than that right now while my kids are young. So with my $200 per week budget, this week I spent about $100 of that buying meat. Most of it was discounted, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook some of it and freeze it for later. I'm going to cook some of it this week to eat right away, and the rest I'm going to freeze for a later time. And I thought I would just kind of walk you through all that. And don't worry if you're confused by anything I'm talking about, whether that's grocery budget or shelf cooking or whatever, just check the description. I've got links to everything you need. Also, don't mind the state of life. You know what? I'm wearing real clothes, but don't be fooled. We're not going anywhere today, and this is as good as it's gonna get. It's fine. Let's focus on the food, not this. I'm gonna walk you through what I bought. Like I said, this was, let me see, I added it up. This was about $92.10 worth of meat out of my $200 budget. So I spent about $100 on stock up because I grabbed a bunch of like canned food and a few things of sugar that I was running out of. And then otherwise I saw sales on meat, and so I stocked up. Here's one thing I want you to think about is I know today I was able to spend almost $100 on stock up, but that doesn't mean that you have to spend that much in order to stock up. Even one of those $5 packages of meat in your freezer is stocking up. So if you could spare $5, $10, $15 to use for stocking up on items, that's how you build a stockpile in your home. For me, I try to use half my budget. So I try to use half my budget for things we need right away, half my budget for things for later. Another really easy way to look at it is, as I've always said, 1 for now, 2 for later. So if you need a can of peaches for a dessert recipe, buy 1 can of peaches for now, but while you're there, while it's on your mind, buy 2 for later. You should especially do this if something is on sale like the meat was today. So keep that in mind, that you don't have to go all out, pace yourself, and that's how you can stock up even on a super tight budget. Let me give you kind of a close-up tour of what this is. We've got a lot of beef in our freezer because we split a cow a little while ago with a cousin. So I saw that there was some pork on sale. I love these yellow stickers because it means that meat is on sale. But one thing you have to understand is that does not mean it's bad for you in any way. It doesn't mean it's rotten. It just means it's getting close to the sell-by date and they want it out of their store. So I always will look for this meat first. The trick with the sale stickers is you just have to watch the date, and you either want to cook it right away or freeze it right away, because when you freeze it, you're basically hitting the pause button on the expiration date and it resumes once it's thawed. So that's why I will try to freeze it same day I get it, or I'll cook it, which kind of resets that timer, if you will, and then freeze it. And so when I pull it out, I have several days to use it before it goes bad. Okay, all that being said, so one thing that I look for with these sale stickers, not just at the price, but how much I saved. So over here, for example, with this ground beef, I saved about half what I spent on it. You know, you've really hit the jackpot when you save more than you spend on it. But you gotta be careful, because just because it has a yellow sticker doesn't always mean it's a good deal, because there were some where it was only saving like 25 or 30 cents. And in that case, it's not really worth stocking up, or it's certainly not worth the impulse buy. All right, here's all the meat that I got. I got a pork butt roast, and this is vacuum sealed already. So I'm actually just gonna throw this in the freezer exactly as is. I'm not gonna cook it first. I got some bone-in pork ribs. This was a good value based on what I paid. These I'm going to take out of the package and I'm going to put in freezer ziplocs. So anyway, I got 2 of those. I saw that there was some tilapia on sale and I need to hurry up and get this in the freezer because it is so stinky. And I saved over half of what the price was. The ribs were a killer deal. They were all like less than $6. And these are already vacuum sealed and ready to go. And I have a big deep freezer. So we're actually gonna cook up one of these tonight for dinner, just on the Traeger. And then these other 3, I'm gonna stick in the freezer for a later date. Ground beef, you can never go wrong with ground beef. I do already have frozen raw ground beef in my freezer. So I'm actually going to cook up both of these. It's a little over 2 pounds. So I'm actually gonna cook it, split it in half, and freeze 4 individual 1-pound portions for really easy meals on other days. These are chicken thighs, which really are such a flavorful meat. The deal was okay on this, but we just needed chicken thighs anyway. These have the skin on, but then I did pay full price for some boneless, skinless chicken thighs, which are really great for like the crock pot and meals like that. All of these I'm going to take out of the package, bag maybe 4 or 6 at a time in a freezer bag, and then freeze for a later date. What do you think, Hutch?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now that I walked you through the meat, I'm gonna go ahead and start processing it and take you along for the ride. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is I have a freezer in the basement, as you guys know, where we kind of keep the food that we don't get into very often. You can see a tour of my freezers in the link below. I'm gonna just take this stuff that's already vacuum sealed and then I'm going to freeze as is and just take it downstairs to the basement, and then I'll process everything else. Okay, I'm gonna pause and explain a couple of things really quick. So number 1, so these chicken thighs, the fact that they're boneless and skinless, most likely means I'm gonna just throw them in a crock pot, straight from frozen. So what I'm doing with these is I'm taking a minute to trim off some of the excess fat, because then I don't have to worry about trying to do that while it's frozen. So you do wanna trim it and make it how you like it before you freeze it. I don't mind a little fat on there because it helps with flavor and I can take it out after the fact. The other thing is I vacuum sealed the fish because that is something that we won't use as frequently. It's probably gonna sit in the freezer a little bit longer. Also, it's a more delicate meat. Sorry, Joss is upset, but we'll grab her in a second. So I vacuum sealed that. But with this chicken, this fills up an entire gallon Ziploc bag. That would take a lot of my food saver bags. Also, we go through chicken pretty quickly. So I just got as much air out as possible and decided to put them in these Ziploc bags instead. These thighs are a lot smaller, and so I'm using smaller smaller bags because I can fit 6 in here, whereas I can only fit 4 in here. So you have to think about portions and how much you would use to cook with. The other thing I want to mention is that when you label your bags, you want to be sure to have 3 things. You want to be sure to label clearly what's inside. Even if it seems obvious, trust me, you get a little freezer burn on there, you won't be able to tell what it is. So write it clearly, write how many are in there. And for me, I always circle that number just so it doesn't look like a date. So I circle how many are in there, and then you write the month and the year so you can keep track of when you should be using things by. Another thing you could do is you could write the use by date. So like, let's say that I had 3 more days on this before I needed to use it or freeze it. I could write on this package, use within 3 days. So that's an option as well. For me, I only pull stuff out of the freezer when I'm ready to use it. So it's not typically an issue for me, but you can certainly do that. One thing I should mention real quick is it's actually still in August. September is only like 3 days away though, so I'm actually writing September on here. I don't want me to think that the meat is a whole month older than it actually is, so that's why I put September. This Food Saver vacuum sealer I got from Costco on sale, but there are some great ones on Amazon. I will link as well in the description. With Ziploc bags, one thing you want to make sure is you really got to use the sturdy ones. Splurge and get the good ones. Also, when they say freezer quart, freezer gallon, what that means is it's a thicker plastic, it has a nice thick zipper, it just does better in the freezer. I would definitely splurge and go for the quality baggies because you don't want a little 2-cent baggie to spoil $5 worth of meat. Oh yeah, look at this masterpiece. These are the ribs. These were $5, Bubba. These ribs were less than
Way
6.
better than a $5 pizza.
Yeah, no kidding. $5, and then a bag of sweet potatoes was like a couple bucks. So, ooh, baby, baby. Okay, you guys, so that is a look at how I can stock up on meat on a tight budget. Hopefully that gave you some ideas and some tips. And remember, again, you do not need to buy it all at once. You don't even need to buy $100 worth like I did. Just one at a time, or even one for now, 2 for later, especially when you see they're on sale. Bit by bit, it'll add up. Well, I gotta get these kids in bed and clean up this kitchen, so I'm gonna let you guys go. Let me know if you like these cooking videos and food videos, if you want more of them. And you guys, September is Shelf-tember. We are shelf cooking all month long, and we have a huge challenge going with major prizes. Be sure to check it out on Instagram. Check out budgetbootcamp.com, my budgeting program where you can learn how to save even more money on your food and grocery bill. All right, I gotta go. Things are getting out of hand here. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Okay, while I'm preparing all this meat,